So I'm here with Sherry Lukey, who is now a part of our quarterly planning workshops. Thank you, Sherry, for being here and discussing this um, strategy, basically, with everybody, because it's so exciting to have you be a part of our planning workshops. Because, as you know, when we get out of our own way, everything just becomes a lot easier. So, why don't you tell everybody about EFT and sort of a little bit of why it's beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's more commonly known as tapping because you literally stimulate acupressure points, which are high concentrations of nerve endings. And they're all over your body, but we just use the upper body. And when you stimulate them, it sends a soothing signal through to the limbic system, which is the stress response area. And it actually soothes that system. So it actually down regulates. And the cool part, which is just miraculous, is they actually have fMRI brain scans now, and they
Hmm.
can see that it's actually this is that stress response amygdala is actually down regulating, and the higher executive functions are up regulating all at the same time. And so
Yeah.
tapping on these points, it sends that, and it is so powerful.
Yeah.
And you and I, this is why we absolutely love this
Hmm.
collaboration, because you absolutely need strategy in business, and you also need to get out of your own way, and we've got both of those covered. And that's why it's just so super fun. Because and what people don't realize is that the subconscious is just so powerful. So it's like I have my two green balls behind me. The giant green ball is your subconscious mind, and the little tiny green marble is your conscious mind. And it represents the difference in power. It is like it's so incredibly powerful, and it's running the show 98% of the time. And so when people keep coming up against themselves to be like, I know what I should be doing, I know I should be doing this thing, and I'm not doing this thing, or even in learning, is that for a lot of people, they've had some pretty negative experiences through school and courses and all the rest of it. And so as soon as that happens, that stress response comes on, and the subconscious's job is to keep us alive and breathing, can't tell the difference between real and perceived threat. So
Hmm.
you start thinking about those bad experiences, and boom, you're in stress response. Blood flows now draining out of those executive functions into the limbic system. And it makes being able to move forward to actually do the action, or to learn anything, it makes it so difficult.
Yeah, and I have that, personal experience of, so for anybody who doesn't know, our quarterly planning workshops are basically based on my own system. It's the system I developed for myself, which then I adapted for my clients, which they're now having great success with. But the reason it came about was because I was doing the planning for these things that I wanted to accomplish, and I came up against the same thing over and over and over again, and it wouldn't go away. And I kept having the same hurdles every time I sat down to do planning. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have you in there, because we know that if it comes back and it's a pattern, it's something that you need to tackle. And there's something more going on that's standing in your way, basically, you know?
Exactly. And
And
people
there's
are,
no other way.
no, well, I mean, I kind of liken it to kind of putting the canoe in the river, right? And
Yes.
it's and without getting out of your own way, you're paddling upstream.
Yeah.
So you might still get to the destination, but it's going to be super hard, going to take a lot of effort, and you may or may not get there. Versus when you actually get in alignment with those subconscious beliefs that got set up so early on, get
Yeah.
those in alignment. It's like taking the canoe and just heading downstream. And
Yeah.
and then when you have the strategy and the planning, it's just like you're on warp speed down that river.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so powerful because I feel like our quarterly planning lets you figure out what the patterns are, and it helps you see it because again, it keeps coming back at you until you finally face it. And then you have the strategies for how to overcome it and how to turn that canoe around, which is so cool, which is
Oh,
so,
it's
so fun.
yeah, it is. Yeah. And like you're the workbook that you have, put together for the quarterly plan, and it really does. It's so beautiful at really amplifying where the patterns and where the deficits are and where the disconnect really, because our
Hmm.
conscious mind, we have wants and desires, right? But it's
Hmm.
like if you're not coming to a fruition on those, or if they're taking a lot of time, you can guarantee that the subconscious beliefs are out of alignment. And what your work the workbook shows is that it actually, you can see it. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I want this thing, and I clearly didn't get the
Didn't do it.
result.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where it's just like this beautiful marriage made in heaven of
Yeah.
being able to address it and change it so that it's easier.
Yeah. And we want it to be easy. Like in
Yeah.
practice and fun and business, it should be these things should not be the problem, right? It should be the easy part, the stuff that, that we want you to have. It should be the fun part. It should be easy to go for what you want and to move towards the results. And there shouldn't be these things that come back, every
Yeah, and
single
it's, I mean,
time.
it's still, it takes effort, but there's a
Yeah.
difference between effort and struggle.
Yes.
And it's like
Yes.
it, you do need to put the work in. It
Of
doesn't
course.
just
Yeah.
rain on you, right? But it's not supposed to be this, coming up against yourself and procrastinating and
Hmm.
struggle. And it's like, oh, I've been trying to do this thing for 5 years and I still can't do it. And now I want to quit. And
Hmm.
it's not supposed to be like that. And
No.
one of the things that we've talked about over and over again is how often people don't feel worthy and deserving of
Hmm.
what it is they want.
Hmm.
And you absolutely, if you have the desire, you are meant to experience it. It's that simple.
Hmm.
And so rather than beating yourself up about, oh, I shouldn't want more, it's like, no, you're nature, we're part of the natural world. And nature wants to be its highest potential, reach its
Yeah.
biggest, the tree wants to grow to its biggest
Yeah.
capacity. And that's how we are. And so you're meant to want more. And the desires you have, that's you're supposed to experience them.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I'm so passionate about my work. Like, I see the potential in everybody and I want them to have it. And I want them to live up to their potential. And I want them to get all the things that they want so they can do more good, you know? So they can actually, who doesn't, when we want more, sometimes we go, oh, I don't know if I,
Yeah.
deserve that and all that. And it's just, if you are a good person, you have more, then you can do more good. So it's just, why not? Why shouldn't we have more good, in our
Well,
lives?
and yeah, and we're supposed to experience abundance in every
Yeah.
area of our life. That is actually that's our true nature.
Yeah.
Struggle and lack, that is not our true nature. And so that those are the things that it's like that's what tapping is so powerful with
Yeah.
is because it can, like I said, it's tunes down that part that tells you all the the criticism and all the things that, well, why you shouldn't have anything. It quiets that down so
Mhm.
that that higher self, that resourceful part, the part that can see things differently, that can problem solve creatively, that all becomes available. And then it's super exciting.
Yeah. So can you just explain for anybody who might be new to the process or who maybe haven't participated? We added in tapping before as sort of an opener before we go into my reflection routine and my three-part productivity audit and our goal setting and all of that. And then we added a piece at the end, sort of a celebration tapping experience. But could you
Yeah.
explain, why we decided to do that structure?
Yes, absolutely. So as soon as we start to go into evaluating ourselves, almost immediately we go into judgment because we
Hmm.
need that. We need to actually be able to contrast, right?
Yeah.
But immediately what happens is we go into that stress response. And so that, like I said, that flow starts to drain into the primal brain and we just can't think in terms of from an objective perspective. And that's what we need to be able to look at this is not from a judgmental place, but simply from an objective place of kind of and curiosity of kind of like, oh, well, that worked, that didn't work, and be able to actually access all that information, be able to put it down without doing the beat ourselves up because that's
Yeah.
almost an automatic.
Yeah.
And what becomes available then is like I said, you're able to access that creative part of your brain. You're able to access, solutions that you never thought of before. It's quite miraculous what becomes available. And so then we're able to go into your process with this whole different perspective.
Yeah. More doors are open.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
we go through this step-by-step process of auditing and getting clear about, this work, that work. Maybe I didn't actually want I want to tweak that, and then get to goal setting. And then as soon as we talk about goal setting, immediately people again start to beat themselves up
Doubt.
about, yeah, doubt and about what they didn't do, right?
Hmm.
Or that it's like, oh, I don't know how I can do that. That's too big. It's too much. And so we're able to actually address that just in just a short tapping piece
Hmm.
and then be able to get into possibility. And that's where it's so exciting. You can just see people just beaming at the end, right? Because
Hmm.
so often people are like, oh, I'm usually drained after this, and everybody's like, oh, let's go, I want to go
Can't
do it now.
wait. Let's
Yeah,
do it. Let's
exactly.
go. Yeah, I love that too. It's so energizing for me too as a coach to see that and see people being excited about their goals and the new quarter coming in and all of that. Like we need that in order to actually go do it. We need some energy, you know, and it shouldn't be draining to do this. I know, it's a fairly intense session, but that's just the way it is. It's a lot of decision making, which
Well,
sometimes
but
it becomes,
yeah, but it totally saves time, energy,
it
and money
does. Yeah.
down the road. It's like that's a given. Like,
Mhm.
like that's just, we could pull out all kinds of statistics about that, but that's a fact that it's like you put in this,
Yeah.
what seems to be a lot of time, but it really isn't. It goes very fast because you make it super fun, and it's like, and you're doing it with a group, and so it
It's a
just
lot
feels.
more fun together.
It is. It's like a whole team event kind of thing, even though you might be working on your own part of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like the feeling that you have at the end of it, to having spent that time, is just you've made this massive deposit into the trust account of yourself,
Hmm.
and of like, oh, I can do this thing, and then the value that it has going forward when you
Hmm.
go to do your next quarterly planning is just it's mind blowing. Like
Yeah.
it's so, and it is. It always shocks me how fast it goes, because I've been doing these
Yeah.
quarterly plannings with you for a while before I started coming in with the tapping,
Yeah.
and it was like,
It
oh,
goes pretty fast. Yeah.
it goes, yeah, it goes
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. And I think just celebrating your accomplishments in a group setting and actually getting some props and not just sitting there and thinking, who am I going to share this with, but actually having some people who are listening and cheering you on is actually another piece that's really underrated, because we're so good at kind of moving the milepost or whatever we call the goalpost
Oh,
for
yeah,
ourselves and
yeah.
like not really patting ourselves on the back. But I just think that's a great opportunity to do that and then to have everybody cheer you on and then, yeah, be
Yeah,
energized.
and I think also the other part too, that at the beginning, is because you find out actually that you're not alone. That
Hmm.
it's like the things that you're coming up against are very similar to other people,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't make it feel like so bad. Like you just feel like, oh, okay, this is kind of normal.
Yeah.
And by normalizing it, it makes it's like, okay, well, I can overcome this then too, right? So there's that connection, and knowing that it's like, yeah, no, you're not this awful person that can't get stuff done. And
Yeah.
then the other part about with having a group of people genuinely celebrate and want you to succeed is
Yeah.
really, really motivating.
It really is. Yeah. So, as you can hear, Sherry and I are super excited for anybody who's listening to join us in quarterly planning. We think it's going to be well worth your time. So, make sure you check us out. It's theswedishorganizer.com. Click on quarterly planning, and you'll find all the information for how to sign up and participate. The first session is always free, which I think is an incredible offer. um, just to be able to participate and experience it for yourself. And, we see people coming back time after time because it works. It works. There's a reason we have the process in place. It's worked for me. It's the reason why I've been so successful, because I sit down and actually take time to think about what I want, what I need, and what the stats say, and all of that. And now with you in here, helping everybody out too with getting out of our own way, it's just that more powerful. So, thanks, Sherry, for explaining that and for being a part of quarterly planning. We're so excited for that. And yeah, make sure you sign up. Make sure you take advantage of this incredible offer to experience Sherry as well as my process. And yeah, we'll see you there. Hope to see you there.